Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving headfirst into, well, a really mind-bending idea.
It is pretty fascinating.
What if all those ancient civilizations we study, Egypt, the Mayans, all of them, what if they shared this huge secret about...
A secret that maybe modern history has kind of glossed over, or maybe even hidden.
Exactly. We're looking at this common thread, right? See it in their buildings, their language, their beliefs, their records.
Yeah, and it's not really about their tech or politics even. It's deeper. It's about how they saw consciousness itself.
Like consciousness as the foundation of everything, and our connection to other dimensions, stuff we barely talk about now.
Precisely. A connection maybe beyond what our, modern science usually tackles.
Right. So our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack this central hidden truth, let's call it.
We've basically pulled together 10 key observations. They're based on some deep research, historical stuff, drawing from a source called Wise Minds.
And the goal isn't just facts, it's to maybe reveal something vital about existence, something we might have been, taught to forget.
That's possible. It definitely makes you think.
Okay, let's unpack this fascinating idea then. Where do we start?
Well, the first big piece, it completely flips how we see ourselves today.
Okay.
Ancient civilizations, they generally saw consciousness very differently. They thought it was trapped in the body. Not made by the body.
Whoa, okay. That's totally opposite to the usual modern view, isn't it?
It really is. We're taught consciousness, our thoughts, our identity. Yeah. It all comes from brain activity, right? Neurons firing.
Right. The brain's the generator.
But for them, the body was more like a temporary container, a vessel. Consciousness existed before it independently.
So it enters the body, like in Egyptian or Vedic texts. You see that there?
Exactly. Egyptian, Vedic, Mayan texts, they consistently talk about consciousness coming into the body for life. Mm-hmm. And the mind, or the brain, it wasn't the source, more like a filter or maybe a limiter, focusing that bigger awareness into our physical experience.
A filter, that's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah, and this idea, it pops up everywhere, different cultures, different times. It suggests this shared understanding. Consciousness first, biology second.
Okay, and if that's true, think about what that implies for, like personal growth.
Right. It means unlocking potential isn't just learning more. It's maybe about unlearning limitation, clearing that filter,
Assessing something already there.
Exactly. It reframes everything. Therapy, meditation, even why we're here.
That really does turn things on its head. And speaking of turning things around, maybe that view of consciousness influenced how they built things.
That leads perfectly into the second observation.
Which is?
They built what might be better described as portals, not just temples.
Portals. Okay, now you've got my attention. We usually just label these amazing ancient sites as temples, places of worship.
And that's our label, based on our assumptions, right? It might not capture what the builders intended at all.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Definitely. Because when you look closely, the Great Pyramid, Mesopotamian ziggurats, Angkor Wat, even stone circles in Europe.
The precision is incredible.
Exactly. They're aligned with stars. They use complex geometry and the materials. They seem chosen for specific conductive or, let's say, energetic properties.
So not just looking pretty or being symbolic.
Doesn't seem like it. These look like functional structure. Environments designed to interact with space, sound, natural energies.
And inscriptions sometimes hint at that, altering perception.
Yes, or acting as points of transition. We find things like sound chambers, tuned to specific frequencies, weird underground tunnels, magnetic anomalies.
Stuff that doesn't make sense for just farming or daily life.
Right. It points towards enabling non-ordinary experiences. Think deep meditation, lucid dreaming states, maybe even out-of-body type stuff.
Shamanic journeys, astral projection, things mentioned in those traditions.
Exactly. Where perception goes beyond the usual five senses. These weren't just monuments, they were tools.
And those materials like crystals or metals.
They might amplify or direct subtle energies, maybe interact with the Earth's electromagnetic field, things modern biophysics is just starting to explore.
And the magnetic spot, power points.
Some ancient texts talk about places like that, where Earth's energy makes certain states of consciousness easier to reach.
Wild. And these non-ordinary experiences, they weren't just internal feelings, they wrote about external things too.
Which brings us right to number 3. They all spoke, quite matter-of-factly, about beings from the sky and the underworld.
And it's not just one culture, is it? It's everywhere.
That's what's so fascinating, the consistency. Sumerian tablets, Hindu scriptures, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Mesoamerican carvings.
Almost telling similar stories.
Remarkably similar. Beings coming down from above, bringing knowledge, laws, language, setting up society.
The sky god's archetype.
Pretty much. And at the same time, beings coming from below the earth, often linked to transformation, sometimes destruction, judgment.
And they wrote about this like history, not myth.
That's the key point. It was recorded as memory, often with warnings, predictions, even talk about when these beings might return.
The sheer similarity across cultures that supposedly weren't connected, that's hard to just brush off as coincidence.
It strongly suggests some kind of shared, real experience,
Yeah.
rather than everyone just inventing the same kind of stories independently.
Okay, so they have this profound knowledge, these incredible experiences.
Yeah.
But was it shared freely?
Well, that leads to our fourth observation. It seems in pretty much every ancient society, the elite class kept a tight grip on the stories and symbols.
So power wasn't just about armies or land.
No, often the real influence wasn't held by the people doing the physical work. It was intellectual control.
Defining reality itself.
Exactly. Through the religious texts, the royal decrees, the symbolic systems, they shaped how people understood the world, how history was told.
How symbols were interpreted. Symbols that maybe had real power or meaning.
Precisely. Think about ancient China. Only the emperor could do certain rituals for cosmic balance. That's a huge monopoly on spiritual power.
Or Egypt, where priests and scribes guarded the deepest knowledge.
Yes, or early libraries in the West, often restricted. This control let the elites shape history as it happened.
Twisting narratives, erasing things.
Or turning inconvenient truths into myths. Symbols that once meant something profound could be repurposed to just prop up the power.
So this raises a big question for us back.
It really does. If history was actively shaped to keep certain groups in power, what crucial knowledge might have been lost or twisted over the centuries?
That really makes you want to reread everything. Speaking of things that keep reappearing in history, observation number 5. This one's huge.
The flood myth.
Every civilization seems to have one. And the source we looked at suggests maybe it wasn't just one flood.
That's the idea. These flood stories are everywhere. Gilgamesh in Mesopotamia, indigenous traditions on every continent. It's uncanny.
And the details are weirdly similar.
Strikingly similar. Sudden catastrophic flood, destruction of a previous world, a few survivors saving knowledge or life.
Even in places with no known contact back then.
Which really points away from independent invention and towards a shared memory, a memory of real, possibly repeated events.
And geology kind of backs this up now. Ice melt impacts.
Geology is finding more and more evidence for catastrophic floods far back in prehistory, events old enough to only survive in oral traditions.
And the myths frame these floods not just as disasters.
No, they're markers of transition, a sort of cyclical reset for humanity.
Like a computer crashing and rebooting.
Kinda, yeah. Some data lost,
Yes.
core programs may be reinstalled by, well, sometimes by those sky beings or external teachings brought to the survivors.
It really challenges our nice, neat, linear view of history.
Absolutely. And their understanding wasn't just historical, it was practical too. Which brings us to number 6.
Okay.
They seem to have understood energy, frequency, and vibration long before modern science did.
Which is amazing considering they didn't have our labs and equipment.
Yeah.
How did they apply it?
Well, think about it. Modern science studies vibrations' effects on matter, on the brain, on health.
Right.
Ancient cultures were using this knowledge sophisticatedly. We see it in tuning forks, mantras, harmonic chanting, the specific placement of resonant stones in buildings.
So those weren't just random choices or just for looks.
Doesn't seem like it. They look like structured methods, ways to alter awareness, boost focus, maybe even stabilize emotion using sound and frequency.
And sound itself was seen as creative force in some traditions.
In many, yes. The first act of creation, their incredible accuracy and astronomical alignments, creating lasting energetic effects without electricity. It points to a real practical discipline.
A discipline in energy manipulation we barely understand.
Exactly. What subtle forces could they perceive and work with that maybe we've lost touch with?
And their understanding wasn't just about physics. It seems it was tied to their society's health, too.
That's observation number 7. It looks like every major collapse didn't just happen because of outside attacks. It came after a spiritual disconnection.
We usually blame wars, economics, disasters.
And those happen, of course. But often, the really deep collapses, Rome, the Mayans, periods in Egypt, they seem to follow periods of internal decay.
Like what? Corruption. Losing touch.
Yeah, corruption, disconnection, a kind of spiritual confusion. When their core spiritual practices became just empty rituals, transactional or separate from daily life and ethics.
So the outward stuff might continue, but the meaning was gone?
Exactly. The rituals lost their power to create cohesion, balance, shared purpose. They just became status symbols or obligations.
And that weakened everything from the inside.
It seems so. It eroded trust, morality, governance,
Yeah.
making them vulnerable. The collapse came from within.
So connecting that to the bigger picture.
It suggests their survival depended heavily on internal spiritual health, collective alignment, maybe more than on armies or wealth.
It's almost like they knew this could happen, this forgetting, this disconnect.
Which leads perfectly to number 8. They left clues in plain sight, almost because they knew we'd forget.
Hiding knowledge right in the open. In the buildings, the text.
Seems like it. Look at ancient sites, those carvings, measurements, layouts that look like decoration. Often, they're incredibly precise, encoded information.
Like the Giza pyramids alignment.
Perfect example. aligned to true north better than we can easily do today, or Angkor Wat, mirroring the Draco constellation from a specific ancient time.
Wow. And the languages, too, like Sanskrit or Egyptian.
Not just phonetic. They have embedded numerical systems, symbols carrying layers of meaning. Decode them, and you find complex astronomy, energy laws, even psychological insights.
Designed to last.
Exactly. Built into stone, woven into language, things likely to survive cultural collapse, waiting for someone to notice the patterns again.
Which is tough because Observation 9 hits on something that makes modern academic uncomfortable.
Definitely. The idea that every myth was just a truth we got too arrogant to believe.
We're just so conditioned to dismiss the gods, the giants, the supernatural stuff as fantasy, right? Primitive explanation.
That's been the standard approach, yeah. Frame them as metaphors, allegories, fiction.
But if you actually read them closely,
many contain incredibly specific details, environmental descriptions, behavioral patterns, social structures that line up surprisingly well with historical or even scientific findings.
So the dismissal came from that rationalist view. If you can't measure it, it's not real.
Pretty much. And that framework, while useful, might have blinded us to the possibility that these weren't just stories. The consistency across cultures is staggering.
So what does this all mean then?
If you reread them without that automatic dismissal, you see structured accounts.
Yeah.
Knowledge about genetics, maybe astronomy, even psychological manipulation. Things that only seem unbelievable because we lost the context.
Okay. That leads us to the final point, number 10. It kind of ties it all together, doesn't it?
It really does. It reframes the entire purpose. The secret isn't just what they built, it's what they were trying to protect. Exactly. The pyramids, the alignments, the coded texts, the oral traditions.
Yeah.
They're impressive, sure, but maybe they were all parts of a bigger plan.
A plan to save critical information.
Information they believed was essential for human awareness, for a meaningful life. They seemed to anticipate cycles of decline, distortion, suppression.
So the monuments weren't just to show off.
Probably not their primary goal. It seems they were trying to safeguard principles they feared would be lost. Their biggest fear wasn't physical destruction.
It was losing the knowledge itself.
The knowledge that made aware, purposeful life possible. So
Yeah.
the symbols, the alignments, the warnings, they're like instructions, left in durable formats. Waiting for people, maybe like us, centuries later, who'd start to see the patterns again.
So let's wrap this up. What we've really explored today is this deep, recurring pattern. It runs through all these angelizations.
Yeah, a pattern pointing to this shared, maybe hidden understanding of reality.
Where consciousness comes first.
Right. And where crucial knowledge wasn't just discovered, but deliberately encoded, protected, left in plain sight for the future.
And it's vital to remember, like you said, these weren't just philosophical chats for them.
No, definitely not. This was practical. It connected everything. Buildings, society, spirituality, how they understood life itself. They were like instruction, an ancient user manual for reality.
Which leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it, for you listening?
A huge question.
What if these ancient clues, these ideas about consciousness, the purpose of their structures, their myth, what if they're actually vital truths?
Truths we've collectively forgotten, or maybe just dismissed because they didn't fit our model.
Think about what that would mean for how we see history, science. Ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, if these ancient cultures went to such incredible lengths to embed this knowledge, to make it last, what vital pieces are still out there waiting
for us to decode them?
And how could rediscovering that knowledge completely reshape how we see human potential, how we understand reality itself?